right, on the show we have Noah Kunselman or Know It All Health. How you doing, Noah?
Doing great, brother. How about you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on the show. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. I love your content. Um, I guess, did you start off originally with 30 days of animal-based recipes? I think that might have been how you gained some of your following.
Yeah, that's it was kind of like one of those things like I originally started just kind of like posting like I'd say kind of like typical in the animal-based space where it's, just kind of telling people to eat whole foods, prioritize like just general wellness tips, get outside, ground, be present.
Hmm.
And then I don't know, I've been doing the whole meat cereal thing kind of like where like I would take like ground beef or ground meat in general and like combine it with fruit. And I just have always wanted to do like a challenge to kind of just push me to post every single day for like, I don't know, like a set number of days. And
Hmm.
my idea was, you know what? Everyone loves breakfast cereals.
Yeah.
And I used to love breakfast cereals as a kid. And I'm not gonna say I don't ever eat them anymore, but definitely I rarely eat them nowadays.
Yeah.
But no, I was like, you know what? Why not try and take the typical like breakfast cereals and turn it into like a more animal based or in my opinion, just a more like generally less ingredient, simple whole food type recipes that were based off like your childhood cereals that you grew up eating. So that's kind of what gave me the idea for that.
Yeah. I've taken inspiration from a few of them myself. Um, my, I think my recipes are pretty boring. I usually just go for two or three ingredients, but I like to spice it up every now and then with something that you've done. In your experience, what sort of recipes have people liked? Like which videos gained traction and got on people's algorithm?
Anything with bananas. The
Yeah.
beef and bananas is just the definite like tried and true that like everyone seems to at least because you can kind of give people like, oh, it's like plantains. Because I mean, if you've ever been to like a tropical area or like anywhere in the Caribbean and you've had some Jamaican like true Jamaican food, some fried plantains, I mean, that'll change your life right there, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's similar texture, and then the bananas for whatever reason, when you cook them, especially like you even just give them like a little browning, it just completely changes like the flavor profile and makes them really well suited for ground beef in this weird kind of magical way.
Right. Okay. And people take inspiration from that. Have you had any particular videos go viral?
Yeah, the Lucky Charms one I did is my most successful one. It got to like 23,000 views.
Yeah.
Um, which I mean I'm happy with, especially like considering I only had maybe 100 followers at the time when it kind of took off.
Hmm.
And I think the reason for that one, so that recipe was kind of funny. I originally was actually trying to make like proper beef gelatin marshmallows. I don't know if you've ever like seen those before.
I have. Yeah, they
They
look great.
tasted, yeah, they taste pretty good. And this is one of the issues I ran into quite a bit, like when making these recipes, is I'm kind of like you. I'm a pretty simple guy when it comes to like cooking. Like realistically, beef and you can throw pretty much anything in there, and I will probably happily eat it, just beef and
Hmm.
salt.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you'll try some stuff that tastes better than others, but that was one of those times where, like, the beef marshmallows or the gelatin marshmallows, I used dates actually. Like, I cooked dates and, like, made them all into this. It was a pretty long process. Wound up not working, like, in what I know people would like. Like I said, like, I enjoyed it, but I'm like, you know what? I have to take my crazy taste buds out of the equation and, like, think that the general population would like it.
Hmm.
And that was one where it was kind of on a whim. I made the beef gelatin, tried it with the beef. I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna eat it, but I know no one. I know people probably won't like rock with it as much. So ultimately, scrapped that original idea and was like, dates are honestly close enough to marshmallows if once you like kind of remove marshmallows from your life. So I just did banana and dates, and people loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few other like even some more like prominent like content creators even post. I'm not saying they necessarily saw my video. I mean, there's only 23,000 people. There's 100 million people on Instagram, something like
Yeah.
that. So I'm not saying for sure that they saw my video, but it was cool to see some people also, post or recreate that recipe like a couple weeks after I made mine. So
Right.
that was a cool experience, I guess.
Where can I find your content? I've seen you on Instagram. I've seen your bio. You've got holistic nutrition, animal-based recipes. Are you on other platforms?
I mean, I use TikTok, but it's kind of just like taking the stuff from my Instagram to my TikTok.
Hmm.
I technically have another page on Instagram as well, but it's not necessarily tied to like animal based and like kind of like just holistic nutrition in general. I'm a
Hmm.
graphic designer by trade, so like
Okay.
that page is a lot more focused on that sort of thing, which I think is, as if you take in the holistic perspective, it's definitely a part of me in a lot of my choices in life in general. And it's kind of, I really, when it comes to nutrition too, especially, and I'm sure you can relate, I think lifestyle outside of just what you eat is probably at times almost more important than the actual foods you consume.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it may change the way that it's metabolized. For sure. For sure. Lifestyle plays a huge role. I mean, if you're just consuming calories at the end of the day, you have to use them in a beneficial manner. Like, you have to take advantage of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear a lot of people say a calorie is a calorie, and that's something I think fundamentally, yes, a calorie is a calorie, but how it works mechanically and what you get from said calorie is completely different.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had too much of a chance to like look into my story, but I actually have kind of recovered from a pretty rare kind of I wouldn't it can't really call it an autoimmune, but just kind of like a I guess a health crisis.
Hmm.
Um, I don't it's not a lot of people know of like really how bone marrow functions or like what really all that entails, but I had a failing bone marrow just a year ago. And then I had severe low hormone profile. At one point, I literally had like 42 nanograms deciliter total testosterone. And within 6 months of really like not eating processed foods, really focusing on the micronutrients, I took it from 42 to 700.
That's
And that was,
fantastic. Wow.
yeah, it wasn't, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's all food. I think definitely since I was so malnourished at the time because of my like bone marrow being suppressed, my body just wasn't it kind of when your bone marrow starts to get suppressed, all other functions start to shut down. So like digestion gets
Yeah.
impaired, leading to malabsorption, leading to like ultimately malnutrition. I never was someone who starved myself. I definitely overtrained, you know, was beating myself up bad in the gym and just running and all that stuff. And then sleep was bad, stress, the typical gambit of why someone has severe inflammation.
Mm.
But with a failing bone marrow, it ultimately just kind of resulted in my blood counts being suppressed significantly, which ultimately like sparked why. Because not every day someone gets a bone marrow biopsy. I don't know if you know what that process procedure is. Um,
I don't
I
know,
can
but I
elaborate.
guess it
Okay.
must be. So to summarize, if I'm understanding correctly, all of the energy in your body was focused on healing that condition, and it was not prioritizing your hormones, your recovery, your digestion, your brain function, because you had this condition. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. It's since we don't necessarily know what suppressed my bone marrow,
Mm.
there's a number of ways that can happen. It could be something like mold in a house that you don't know of. It could be which our theory right now, running with my doctor who I worked with, amazing doctor. I went to see several, like I've seen hematologists, oncologists, because for when you have these low blood counts, they immediately think it's cancer related. So that's why you get
Mm.
a bone marrow biopsy. They're looking for something like leukemia, which thankfully, praise up, I did not have leukemia, but I did have the hypocellular bone marrow, which was the sign that your bone marrow is failing. And first doctors kind of told me straight up, they're like, I mean, there is no way to fix it. That was something I was told from two doctors.
Mm.
I ended up the third one ultimately was like, you know what, this is not normal, but there are cases of where random stuff can cause this. Like I said, mold, chronic Lyme's disease, overtraining is also a potential causation. I don't think it's overtraining. There isn't enough research to really say it's a definitive, but it could be something to add to why your bone marrow would ultimately start to shut down. Um, so yeah, I started working with a doctor. She definitely like helped me with some of the supplement side of it, and I'm not a big supplement guy, and I don't think you are either, right?
I don't take any supplements except vitamin D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So perfect. I don't want to. I don't obviously. I'm a big believer in you don't have to do anything. it's your choice if you want to take action. But I'm
Absolutely.
choosing right now to ultimately supplement just with some basic stuff to help my white blood cells, and that's something called wheatgrass, which is basically just it's kind of what it sounds like. It's a grass green, and I'm not a huge greens person, but that one there is lots of shown evidence of improving white counts. So given my
Okay.
case, that is something I supplement with.
Right.
And then other than that, it's just occasionally I'll do a probiotic. It's not often. I get enough from my diet. I'm very micronutrient focused on everything I like every choice I make when it comes to food. It's
Hmm.
not so much the macros per se. I mean, obviously protein. I always say leverage protein. But from there, just focusing on getting a diverse range of micronutrients so you don't have
Yeah.
those deficiencies. And especially today, man, like it's so easy access. Like
It's so easy.
you know, a
Yeah.
lot yeah,
It's
a lot of people tout like hunter gatherer. Oh, sorry, to cut you off, but a
no,
lot of
by all
people
means,
tout
go
hunter
ahead.
gatherers and yeah. Okay, so I was saying that a lot of people tout these hunter gatherer tribes, and like I love the concept. I love the message of like harvesting your own food. I'm a hunter myself, um, and the idea of like the way that they eat the animal nose to tail. But you throw the hunter gatherer in like today's world. I was talking to a buddy about this today. Brought up a great point. Definitely a dude you have to check out. His name's Adam. Is well on Instagram it's Dr. Hotch. His name's Adam. Great dude. Met him for the first time, but he was said something that really stuck with me today. He said if a hunter gatherer was in today's world, they would probably overeat just like we do because
Mm,
they always think that they're facing famine potentially, so they're gonna
yeah.
gorge
They're
themselves.
preparing for lack of sustenance. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of to get back to my point, what I was thinking earlier, was what I was thinking is like you have these people who like are micronutrient deficient and but there's an overabundance of micronutrients that you can get from your diet today.
Yeah.
Like
Just from Whole Foods.
if you yeah, if you say, "Oh, I need vitamin K or I need folate." It's like, "Okay, you go to your store, get some liver, maybe if you don't I don't love vegan, but if you are vegan, I mean, you can load up on avocados or,
Hmm.
spinach like it's so easy to manipulate your diet to not need supplements today,
Yeah.
but there are some other circumstances where supplements can come in handy. Like I said, for instance, like what I'm dealing with, it's not easy to get wheatgrass regularly. You have to freeze it. I've done it before. It's a bit of a pain. So going the supplement route in that case is one a little bit more cost efficient.
Hmm.
Believe it or not, once the supplement actually is cheaper than
Then the Whole Food
Whole
version. Yeah.
Foods.
Then creating it yourself. Yeah.
And I'm sure I'd love to talk about that too. I don't know how much time we got, but one of my biggest things I hear people say is like, oh, eating Whole Foods is like, it's too expensive or, all that stuff. But more often than not, the supplement or the pill that you're going to have to take to fix what you lack from the whole food is probably going to cost a lot more. And I can speak
Yeah.
from experience with the medical bill costs that I had to spend like in the last year, just trying different therapies. It's not fun. I
Hmm.
wish I would have just focused on Whole Foods prior to that, but you live and you
Yeah.
learn. And now I can hopefully spread a message for people to really just, do the work before you have to face a crisis or like such a health scare.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. I mean, going meal by meal, if you're eating out, you're going to spend vastly. It's not a reasonable argument to claim that you're going to spend or save money meal by meal eating out. Like how much is a combo at any fast food joint? It's $10 or $15 minimum. Minimum.
Easy.
You could spend $20 at Subway. And then to touch on your earlier point, um, one and a half whole food meals per day is going to pretty much get you your the vast majority of all of your RDIs for vitamins and minerals. If you find yourself needing a supplement, you're filling a void that you're creating by not eating whole foods. You're supplementing a void that you've created.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Um, and so how are you trying to get that message out there? What type of videos are you creating?
So obviously, I started off with it was more so just a challenge, just to really push myself to like, all right, no, I could commit to 30 days, and the way to do that was, and I'm sure you can relate. You create this formula, right, of like how to create content day to day. If you don't have like a formula or a system, it's gonna be very hard to like be posting every single day. And I'm sure like you do a lot of full day of eatings, like someone who follows you knows what to expect when they watch
Mm,
your video. But that's not to say there's still not a ton of value. Like I mean, albeit it's like it's formulaic, new eyes are seeing it every day. So ultimately, I guess to come back to how I'm spreading my message, after doing that 30-day challenge, now I'm really committing to focusing on a lot more lifestyle things, like things that I do on a day to day, ways that I kind of like. I don't want the message to necessarily be like doom and gloom, like, oh my God, I thought I had cancer and I was like all sick and I was skinny and felt terrible, but now I'm great. Like, I mean, I guess that's motivation, but I just don't think it's that practical. Like, I
mm.
think more practical things are like simplifying nutrition. I think that's a really big thing I want to focus on. I've recently started coining this term, which I definitely want to continue to expand upon it. Oh, is this a swear-free podcast? Just real quick.
Go ahead, man. I won't stop you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I coined the term DOTS. It's just, DOTS, and I just think it's like the prime. So what DOTS is, it's don't overthink shit.
Okay.
And I think that's a key thing when it comes to eating. Like I think people know what's good for them. I find
Mm,
it hard to believe that people don't have an idea of like what they probably should and shouldn't eat. You can get into the nuances, like I said, vegan, carnivore, animal based, whatever you want to specify or focus on. But at
mm,
the end of the day, everyone knows they should be prioritizing whole foods. I don't think many people think that the bag of potato chips is actually good for them.
mm. You're absolutely
You
right,
know,
man.
so
Yeah, there's a
y-
sense of
y-
intuitive understanding that pretty much everyone has. Yeah.
and they try to act like they don't know what like it's prime example is I don't know about you if you're ever traveling, you're traveling at the airport or something like that. It's the airport snacks, like they're albeit they're not optimal, they're pretty darn good. I mean, you get jerky if you wanted to do a protein shake, there's protein shakes and endless amounts of fruit.
Hmm.
Everywhere has fruit.
Hmm.
I mean, I know some that even sell like Parmesan and Nature's Protein Bar right there.
Yeah.
So I think it's like I don't know if it's like a will, an education thing, probably a little bit of both,
Maybe a willing ignorance.
is yeah, I can definitely relate. I can see that. I mean, by this point in 2024, I find it hard to believe people haven't seen enough messages or kind of got the idea that lead with protein, minimal ingredients, like focus on minimal ingredients in just food that is as least processed as possible.
Hmm.
I just find it hard to believe that people don't know that on like kind of like a global or like we'll call it like a nationwide or like worldwide scale.
Yeah.
Um, it it just comes down to like I don't know. I don't know if I have the answer honestly for that. Like why someone chooses to grab the Snickers bar as opposed to grabbing an RX bar or like I said, a piece of jerky. Like if it's purely just taste, that I guess I can kind of understand that. Like
Like you're giving into some,
the
it's an
food is addictive.
indulgence. Yeah. You're not
Yeah.
misinformed that the Snickers bar is less healthy than an apple. You are indulging, or it's your vice. You're
It's
actually doing it because it's bad for you, and you know that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I think also, I mean, just people's, I mean, you've done carnivore, right? Correct
Yeah.
before?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that I'm not like one to like tout any like one diet as like the cure, and I'm nor do I think carnivore necessarily is the cure because when I did it, there were side effects from doing it. But I think in terms of like resetting the way that you consume food, there's a lot of value in it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I remember the first time I only did it for a month, but when I got back, I did like strict lion, so I did like just eggs and well no lion is no eggs actually I don't think, but
Red
I did
meat and
lion
salt
or
and
I did
water.
yeah, so I didn't do lion. I did lion for the first week, but no, after that first week I brought in butter, I brought in eggs, and then I ran that like that with beef and for like the month.
Hmm.
But I remember the first time I had cottage cheese like after that month, dude, I thought I had just like literally just got a McDonald's flurry. Like it was so sweet to me, and it
Yeah.
had nothing in it. I mean, it was just pure organic cottage, like just lactose free organic cottage cheese from Good Culture, which is the best cottage cheese if you're
That's
looking
the
for it. I
brand.
mean, no
That's
plug.
yeah.
I'm not affiliated,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
affiliated, but
Real ones
dude,
know
it's
that that
bomb.
is the cottage cheese to go for. We don't have it in Canada, but I've had it and it blew my head off.
Dude, yeah, it's so good. I mean, I now if you put honey in that with like some like strawberries or I'm a big apple guy, so like I know not a super popular cottage cheese combo, but crack one of those things and then I delete that tub real quick.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I remember like what I was kind of saying is like the first time I had even just a dairy product after carnivore, I realized like I'm like, wow, like I didn't even think I had a bad relationship with sugar. And I prior to carnivore, it's not like I was sitting there smashing Snickers. The most sugar I'd probably give you if I got like one of those like huge dark chocolate bars.
Mm.
Never really had much processed sugar during that time, but fruit I leveraged a ton, and that was a whole other thing. The first piece of fruit I had after carnivore knocked my socks off. I was like, this is how we're supposed to react every time we should have sugar. I feel like
Yeah.
not if people. I know a lot of people say like sugar's not sweet enough, and that is just like
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
you need to definitely take a break. If sugar's not if like a nice banana or like a fresh slice of pineapple is not sweet enough for you, might want to pump the brakes and try keto just for a little bit. It's not like I don't think anything's lifelong. I think it's good to switch it up, especially seasonally
Yeah.
too. I think a lot of people still sleep on seasonal eating.
Yeah, that's a great point. It doesn't have to be a lifelong commitment. It could just be to reset your metabolism a little bit or reset your satiety mechanisms. Because I remember the first time that I heard it articulated in this way. Paul Saladino said, "You've hijacked your metabolism. You've hijacked your satiety mechanisms," and that's such a great way of putting it. I mean, you can hijack your body's ability to metabolize food and the way that it will trigger your hormones um, and your dopamine and your receptors. I mean, I'm not a nutritional expert. I don't want to give people advice on what they should eat. I post what I eat in a day, not what you should eat in a day,
Hmm.
right? So, but that's it's such a great way of articulating it. Like you can do keto or carnivore, for example. I did 9 months and it completely reset my satiety mechanisms. The first thing I ate after the 9 months was a mango, and I felt like I was paralyzed. It was just sheer euphoria, just eating this mango that 9 months prior I wouldn't have thought twice about. I would have eaten that mango, and if you had have asked me would a Snickers bar been on par with that, I would have been like, no, the Snickers would have been better. You know, um, yeah. So that's seasonal eating, and I think there are ways that you can really reset your metabolism and reset your satiety. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you Saladino is definitely he's been a big inspiration of mine. I think anyone who's following Animal Base would have to agree at some point. I love his message, and like I remember I remember hearing something similar from him about the whole like you will mess up your satiety. It was probably one of his long form pieces of content, which I highly encourage anyone who is
Yes.
cautious of him. He does do clickbait, but he you have to play this game a little bit.
Yeah.
But his long form content much more dogmatic in his viewpoints around nutrition, and that's something I really pride myself on. I don't my so I guess to kind of backtrack a little bit, the reason I called my page Know It All Health, well, one, it kind of ties with Noah, but like I always kind of coin and say like I don't know it all. So I just thought it'd be kind of fun to like play off the idea of like maybe someone seeing this once they see my name's Noah, then they'll probably pick on the gist like, oh, this kid, he's just goofing around, which I'm a goofy. I pride myself on being a pretty laid back, not overly serious person. Like even when I was going through a lot of my health stuff, I'm not saying that I was sitting there joking about it, but like there were, obviously for me to get through it, I had to play with it a little bit.
Mm.
Obviously, there were times when it hit me really hard, and I was not a happy camper. But even during all that, I always still tried to like lead with joy. I read a quote once, and it was "Lead with joy, and you'll be led." And I feel like that has served me very well, even in the darkest times. Like focusing on the light and just keeping doing your best to put a smile on.
At that
It
present moment.
ultimately just yeah, that's that's it all right there. Honestly, you can be present, and I'm a big something I've been really talking about. Like, I've had people reach out to me and be like, "Oh, what are your thoughts on like seed oils and like all this stuff and like PUFAs, Teflon, you name it." People have
Mm.
mentioned it or microplastics. I'm like, obviously, I'm going to try to avoid those. But I think people, and this is, I've dealt with an eating disorder, so like I've put that, I have no problem like talking about that. I think more people should, be comfortable, not comfortable talking about it, but it's a message that I think a lot of people just brush under the rug. But I think this rise of like people demonizing seed oils or demonizing like microplastics, and obviously, like I said, I'm not saying go smash canola oil or smash like plastic water bottles, but there comes a point where people are avoiding social situations and like meaningful connection or in being present with their family because of a fear of like a seed oil. Like you go
Mhm.
out to eat, are you going to let going out to eat, fearing seed oils, ruin the experience of enjoying this time being present with people you love and care about?
I actually might have at one point, but it's really it's you've got a great point. Yeah. No, I try to do the
It,
exact opposite.
trust me, like, and this is someone who's speaking from like as well. Like, I've definitely like, there's been times where people are like, "Oh, do you want to go out to eat at this restaurant?" I'm like, "No, I can't." And the only reason I said I can't is because I'm like, they cook with seed oils. I don't know what they're cooking with. It's not going to
Yeah.
fit my
Yeah.
macros or whatever.
Or you're unsure, you don't want to exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, dude, if you look at I don't know if you've looked into like blue zone stuff much at all, or like some of the people who like live the longest.
Um, I,
There's
I've
a
I've
lot of
I've listened to a lot of content about it. I haven't done my own private research. That's something that yeah, I haven't independently researched it, but I've listened to a few podcasts on it. I've listened to like
Mhm.
some different content. But yeah, I'm interested in what you have to say about it.
So one, I'll send you some stuff to look into that because a lot of that is like most things in this, unfortunately, like most things in this nutrition space, it's very agenda focused, the content around it. But when
Mm,
you do a lot of your own research, the only common trend really is the fact that these people live present and they have fulfillment and they have community.
right, on a daily
Yes, they do
basis.
prioritize, yeah, on a daily basis. And yes, I'm not going to act like they don't eat mostly whole foods. I think that once again, that goes back to like I think everyone knows that they should probably focus on whole foods.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
they don't,
Is that a
that's a
surprise to
whole
you?
different can of worm.
Yeah, is it a surprise that
'Cause,
they're not there isn't a big a McDonald's on every corner and they're not eating breakfast cereal, this and that. You can't be surprised by that. Yeah. Yeah.
no,
But I bet
exactly.
people would
This
be surprised to hear that they're present in the moment, they're spending time with their families. Go on. Yeah, what else are they doing?
that's one big thing. And then I mean, I'm not necessarily like I don't have a specific religion. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm pretty well read on a lot of religions. Like I've read tons of Christianity books, Buddhism books, dived into a few Hinduism books, but I'm much more of a spiritual, but they have a deep connection with a creator or a God.
Mm,
That kind of goes back to purpose and family. I think all those kind of like work in tandem. But a lot of art today is pushing against that. Like they're
mm.
pushing, I love science and I think science is incredible. Even a lot of science was actually originally funded by like religion. Um, but now we're starting to get this push of like people really focusing so much on the science and avoiding that like connection that you kind of feel in your gut, or really just trusting your gut in general, which is a man. I could go on so many different like I have to try and keep focus sometimes. I'm like now I'm like trying to think about like other stuff that ties into gut health,
No,
but let's
I love
focus
where you're
on
going. Yeah, yeah, you're firing on all cylinders. What do you think about
yeah.
I was going to add to that the aspect of convenience, right? They in these quote unquote blue zones, they have different priorities than us. Like we have a priority for convenience. So you wake up in the morning, you get the box of cereal and in Canada it's a bag of milk, and you pour the two
Mhm.
into a bowl. What do you think they might be doing? They might be cooking a full meal for breakfast.
So what's kind of funny is actually they do consume a fair bit of cereal. Their difference is that their cereal is not Kellogg's Fruit Loops.
Right.
It is like muesli, where it's like pure oatmeal. Um, they do use grains. A lot of people get it twisted, but I think a big difference though is more so that actually the dairy they get. A lot of them are actually goat farmers,
Mm,
and you'll hear documentaries say they're vegan. I'm like, just think about that. If I'm farming goats 12, 16 hours out of my day and not consuming that product for like the majority of my diet, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Like how
yeah,
someone could actually
it's not a
conjure.
reasonable. That's not intuitive. You're not using your intuition. Yeah.
No, I mean, sure, they may like, I'm not saying they don't eat vegetables because they also farm their own veggies usually. And I'm not anti-vegetable at all. Like, I just think that people over rely on them at times.
Mm,
I know personally I like life a lot better without, for the most part. If it comes on a plate, I'm not going to not eat it. But to kind of go back to convenience, though, it's like all the food they're consuming is food that they have on hand pretty much at their house. So
mm,
the cereal, I'm sure they get from like a local, like one of their friends who's like some sort of like oat grain farmer. They have that on hand. The dairy milk that they're using is usually goat or sheep that they are then going to go and herd for the rest of the day. Um, or even when they're out and about, like if you they're out and about, maybe walking, they grab some berries or they bring some fresh fruit with them. I just think they have a lot of convenient food on hand, but their convenient food in their mind is a lot better options than what we typically would have here or like in the States or any developed country. Because convenience food at like convenience stores is you can get the fruit, but the fruit is like at the checkout in like the corner and it looks like there's flies flying all over it.
yeah,
Not in, personally still I would still choose that over like a Snickers bar, but it's not as appealing. It
yeah,
doesn't have the marketing behind it. Like a banana is a banana. It doesn't have, let's just use blanking out right now. Mike the Tiger, Frosted Flakes, flexing double bicep and looking jacked, saying like, "Eat this and you'll be big."
yeah.
I'm not necessarily that's not the message, but it's kind of what you get taught as a kid. I don't know. Did you have Frosted Flakes in Canada?
Um, I didn't fall for that one in particular, but I ate a lot of Fruit Loops. I would crush a bowl of
Yeah,
Fruit Loops, and I would achieve no satiety from it. I would want a second bowl, but I'd have to run off to school.
yeah.
Yeah, and the quality in these blue zones is off the charts as well, right? It's everything would be organic, everything would be They don't have the terms for grass-fed, pasture-raised,
Mhm.
organic. That's just the bare minimum. That's the bottom line. It's how it's life in these areas of the world. Yeah.
One thing too that you'll find pretty common in the blue zones is they're actually eating in caloric deficits regularly. So I'm sure you probably read up like on autophagy, and a lot of people push like you need to be eating a caloric deficit to promote autophagy, and that's how you live a long time. One thing that they fail to mention is like, okay, you tell someone to eat in a deficit in America, for instance, well, one, their deficit to achieve a deficit is a lot less calories than someone who lives in I don't know, let's Sardinia, Italy, which is one of the prominent blue zones, when they're goat herding all day, not sitting in an
Yeah.
office chair. So their daily expenditure is a lot higher. One, and the other thing too, this is a big issue I think we face in the States is people are macronutrient, like they're over consuming calories on a day to day, yet still being malnourished because they're not consuming calories with enough micronutrients in them.
Hmm.
So yes, if you're not giving your body the actual nutrients it needs, you're gonna be more hungry. You're gonna
Yeah.
have these severe cravings.
Yep.
Um, it- to go back to the quality side of it, their food they consume out there, and the fact that they don't choose like the low fat or like the low calorie option, they probably eat a lot less volume, but have a lot more macronutrient in the like the small amount of volume. So they're getting more calories, also the amount of like micronutrients in like an apple or like I don't know like a grape from Italy compared to like a grape grown in California or something like that. I bet you the nutrients are a lot more dense in that grape. I don't. This is a we'll call it a know-it-all theory here, but I'd be willing to go on a limb and say that just the nutrient profiles of the produce out there is a lot more nutrient rich as opposed to like size of it. Because in America, everything has to be bigger,
Hmm.
which goes for all aspects of our life, whether it's your Diet Coke or a truck. Like we just
Hmm.
make everything massive.
Yeah.
Um, People think they need to eat like you see people post like low calorie, high volume foods. I did that for a while. Don't do it. Leverage low volume. I won't say leverage low volume, but just leverage high nutrient
Yeah.
dense
Leverage
foods.
nutrition. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite simple being able to actually raise your basal metabolic rate, raise the amount of calories that you consume
Hmm.
outside of your exercise, or sorry, raise the amount of calories that you will expend outside of your generic exercise, like going to the gym. Simply
Hmm.
walking, consuming more micronutrients, prioritizing protein, your body think of it in the context of an engine, it'll run hotter. You'll actually run hotter
Hmm.
um, throughout the entire rest of your day outside of being in the gym. So you'll just naturally raise your basal metabolic rate. It's that simple. Yeah.
Then there's the whole thermic effect too. That's another thing a lot of people don't realize. That's something like I think if you tell someone who's switching from a standard American diet to a more whole foods based diet, once they make that connection of the thermic effect of food, do you know the thermic effect? I'm sure
How
of food.
certain calories are broken down differently, like
So yeah, it's like
thermogenically.
so basically the calories. Okay, albeit like a lot of people say like the calories from a Twinkie are the same as like a calories from a ribeye.
Hmm.
Let's just say on average, like I mean, I want to say I want to say I chat GPT this once. Just gotta love chat GPT sometimes. And I think it said like something like 42 calories are typically burned consuming 200 calories worth of Twinkie, or no, 700 calories worth of Twinkie. That was what I was checking. Compared to eating a ribeye you burn about 200 calories, if I'm
In
not
700
mistaken,
grams of ribeye
in 700 calories worth of
or
ribeye.
calories rather. Yeah,
So
yeah,
you,
yeah.
so basically, it's like you are connect. So your net is 500
Yeah. Hmm.
versus the 700 calories from the Twinkie. Your net is 600 and like 50.
Hmm.
And I know that you're like, oh, it's only a 150 calorie difference, but if you're only consuming about 3,000, that's a pretty big difference,
Yeah.
you know. And you're also gonna be fuller. That's a whole other thing. You'll probably consume less total calories throughout the day. Your body's actually going to be functioning better because it'll have the not just the quality macronutrients provided from the ribeye, but more importantly the quality micronutrients
Hmm.
provided from the ribeye, which I'd be willing to bet a Twinkie has probably I, obsolete amounts of vitamins and nutrients within it.
Yeah.
Like I
It's
said, I don't have
nutrient
the
barren.
nutrition label.
And
Yeah.
it wouldn't only be nutrient barren, it would also be designed to induce hunger. By
Yeah.
design, it's engineered to make you hungrier.
Hmm.
Number one, due to the lack of nutrients, so your body has to ask you to replace it and fill those voids. Um, and secondly, we know that high fructose corn syrup or fructose when it's not paired with glucose is going to increase or decrease your satiety level. It's going to spike
Hmm.
your hunger hormone and make you ask for more. And really by design is going to addict you to these foods. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you don't have to have a perfect metabolism, or sorry, you don't have to have a wrecked and hijacked metabolism to enjoy a Snickers. I haven't eaten a Snickers in 2 years, but if I ate one right now, I think it's delicious,
Yeah.
right? Like if you asked me to objectively pair a piece of pineapple to a Snickers, okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, the Snickers would probably be delicious, but I know that that's terrible for my health, and I don't have the desire to eat it because it's so what's the word I'm looking for? It's my body has alienated that, and I think when
Hmm.
you only consume whole foods, your body alienates what isn't food. A Snickers bar is not
Yeah.
food, right? So when you consume that, your body doesn't know what it is, so it doesn't have the metrics in place to metabolize it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but thermogenically, if that's the right word. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I mean, dude, great points, honestly. I think so many something I ask myself pretty often when I'm like consuming a food or considering indulging. Like I said, if someone hits me up and it's like, let's go to like I'm like want to go to Crumble Cookie. I always ask myself, does this Crumble Cookie serve my future self?
Hmm.
And as hard as it is for people to believe who are way on the whole food side, there are times in life where a Crumble Cookie or having a Snickers bar with a friend who just maybe lost their dog or something like that
Is
is
a
like, man,
net
dude, I'm good.
positive. It's a net
Yeah,
positive.
I'm like,
Yeah,
exactly. And
sure.
that's a
You
big
might
thing I
run
try to
into that
push is like,
situation.
I'm always trying to push the focus on the experiences more than anything, or like I said, serving the future version of yourself. A
Hmm.
bite from a Crumble Cookie, I don't think it's gonna kill you. I
Hmm.
think your body's probably gonna say, I didn't like this that much. Please don't take another. But your friend now is gonna have a light within them that you are showed up for them and you are present with them, which is, in my opinion, going to put your body in like the parasympathetic, I can never say the word right, parasympathetic state system where your body actually does a better job digesting even some garbage.
Mm.
I was just in
Yeah,
Europe in
exactly. That's a
July.
great point. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like
Yeah,
when you're consistent, you actually, or with your nutrition and whole foods, you will actually digest the processed foods better, more optimally. Yeah, go on. Yeah, for sure.
100%. I went to Europe with some family friends and incredible experience, but we went to Spain. Spain, dude, I don't know how like some of them are healthy. Like they got their the way that like it must be like the food must definitely be better out there because you don't eat till like 11 o'clock one,
Hmm.
and then it's like 20 small appetizer meals like fried. It was a fried calamari sandwich. I don't think I still to this day don't want to ever try it again, but I did try it. But I didn't have any stomach issues.
Yeah.
And for one reason, like I said, I have done a lot of work to heal my gut and like really I spend more time eating whole foods than I do garbage foods, which to go off your point probably helps me digest it better. But I think the main reason why I was able to consume these like really unhealthy foods, not because I was in Europe, which I know everyone would say, well, the food's just better in Europe. I'm like, I agree it is, but I think it was the fact that I was just being present with the people. I wasn't living to eat. Or yes, I wasn't
Yes.
living to eat. I was eating to live
Yep.
at that moment. I
Hmm.
wasn't going to get calories for the rest of this, like probably till like next day in the afternoon. And I'm not trying to lose weight, which I always do in Europe because you were walking like 30,000 steps a day. I'm like, this is the only fuel I have. It's not my favorite choice of fuel, but it's fuel. And I think my body didn't care that it was not clean because it wasn't, once again, I wasn't focused on that. I was just focused on the people I was with in this experience of experiencing true Spanish cuisine.
Hmm.
So, like, I think there's a lot of value in focusing on whole foods when you can, but when situations arise and experiences pop up, don't let your don't let your food become your life or your lifestyle. Like it is your lifestyle, but like don't let it necessarily be your identity. Like, oh well, I'm too good. I can't have bad foods, and then you miss out on the experience of like actually living. Like
Hmm.
that's another thing. A lot of people say you eat to live, or a lot of people say I eat to live, not live to eat. But there also comes a point where if you're so focused on everything being clean, then you're not really living either. Because just the fact of the way our world is, I mean, there's going to be times when you have a choice between living life and being with people, which is, in my opinion, the ultimate form of life, or saying I have to stick to my specific diet of no seed oils, no whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sure, like I said, I see you go out to eat every now and then, and I think it's always in my. This is me just speaking from someone who dealt like an eating disorder, where I spent time avoiding social situations. If I could tell anyone from this, it's focus on the whole foods, but if an experience comes up, don't be scared of in I don't want to say indulging, but don't be scared of like things that not necessarily aren't in your control, if that kind of translates.
Yeah, those are great points. Um, so let's touch on some of your influencing now. What sort of plans do you have for the future? What kind of videos do you plan on making? Because you are out of that 30-day phase of meat cereals. So what are you shifting into?
I really want to dive into hormone, like helping people with hormone health. I got some video and then still doing recipes, but I was talking to a buddy today and right now on like Instagram, you kind of have to give your credentials, if you want to call it that, like, to like reason why someone should listen to you. A lot of people go for the good old six pack shot of their abs, or we'll call it the thirst trap,
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, it's still, you're still getting a good message across, albeit your means are a little interesting, just giving
Yeah.
yourself the six little ab shot. But I ultimately, my credentials are my blood work. So showing like a blood test, 42 nanograms per deciliter, transitioning to 700 in less than 6 months. Here's what I did. And then obviously I want to break that into series and continue to expand upon that. Not just here's what I did, here's what I'm continuing to do. Here's how I'm bringing other foods back into my diet. Here's how I'm not letting my dislike of seed oils and microplastics affect my life of living.
Hmm.
In, you know, I did all, the reason when I was sick realistically, the way my doctors painted it was like, oh yeah, you might have a few years left at that point. There was a time where I was kind of okay with that. I was like, you know what? I've had a good run. I'm only 25 to be honest with you, but I was like, life's been good. And I didn't think that there was really any chance. But then I've always had the dream of being a dad. Like that's my number one goal in life. And to kind of go back to it, it's like I want to help people to realize like if you take control of your nutrition and you like make these changes, then you can live a long and happy life, even if you have like hormone issues or when stuff seems ultimately bleak.
Hmm.
Just there's always just keep moving the needle forward. Life is hard.
Yeah. Be present.
It's
Be
always going to
present.
be hard.
Do
Yeah.
what you can do at that moment. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And let the troubles that'll arise later on because they're not present now. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think you seem to be doing very well now. You look great now, but not everyone is in a
Thank you.
dire situation. Some people just need to uh, use their intention and their intuition and gain some knowledge on how they can make the most optimal next step. What should I eat for my
Hmm.
next meal? What do I do to have a better sleep at night? Just simple things. Simple things that they can implement into their day-to-day routine, certain things that they might not know that they're doing that are suboptimal, or even toxic. Yeah, yeah. So that's even being present, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's a skill. Being present is a skill.
yeah.
You know, it's just like everything in life. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. No different from nutrition. Like
Hmm.
I'm sure you don't have to think that hard to figure out what I'm gonna have. It's kind of like I know I feel good with a pound of beef. Do I want to put garlic in it today, or do I want to put ginger or a little avocado? Like maybe some
Yeah,
honey. Like
exactly.
it's not overcomplicate. Like I think a lot of people. I love the idea of like you can't learn to throw like you're a fighter actually, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you can't like learn to throw a roundhouse kick or like a scorpion kick without knowing how to jab.
yeah,
But a lot of people are trying to step over the jab,
exactly. You
and
need
you
to
can
have
almost
your
even go or
foundation.
before that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think just what you're doing is great, man. With like the day of eats is just you're providing people a very easy foundation, a very easy blueprint foundation to follow. And honestly, I'd love to even in my own content try to provide a similar experience of just like I'm not like I did a routine video the other day. It takes me an hour and a half, give or take, to do my routine. And that includes like getting ready, brushing my teeth, like normal stuff. I don't
Yeah.
actually like do anything that out of the normal. The only thing that's like semi quasi, like if you want to call it like, I don't know, like
Quirky or
you see
niche?
these people, yeah, it's I jump in a cold shower for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It, I think that's better than any,
That's
like, I
not too
love coffee,
crazy, but
huge
it's
coffee.
like
No.
exactly. Yeah, like anyone can do that. Yeah, it's realistic.
Yeah.
You're not setting the bar too high. Yeah.
No, I'm
But it's
not,
just the simple things.
not
It's the
journaling.
every
Yeah.
day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Great
No, I say
points.
like I'm not sitting there journaling for 30 minutes. I'm not like doing red light therapy. I'm not
Hmm.
meditating afterwards. I'm not having to take my specific supplement routine and then, do all this stuff. Like I jump in the cold shower for 3 minutes. It sucks, but it's a great way to wake you up. I get out. I do a gratitude prayer. Literally just drop down right on which I probably should have included in my video. Come to think of it, I literally just drop down on my little like drying mat and just run through everything I had to be grateful for
Hmm.
in my day. Not just in my day, but usually just in my life. Like if it's people, like you'll probably make the gratitude prayer tomorrow. Just it's people I meet or often, or I'm just a big believer in light. So like everyone has light in them. So I just thank for
Yeah.
that. Brush my teeth. Go if I feel like cooking breakfast, cook breakfast. If I don't, always go for a walk. I think walking, getting sunlight in the eyes in the morning, especially
Absolutely
you're a
vital.
northern boy.
It's vital.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essential.
Yeah.
Um,
And you can do it
but
every
yeah,
single
that's.
day. There is no like there are some
Hmm.
things you might have an excuse to not do in your routine. You might not have time if you're I actually used to do ice baths every day. I don't do them anymore. But if you're a guy that does
Hmm.
an ice bath every day, if you're staying at a hotel, hey, sucks to suck, buddy. You're not going to be able to do an ice
Yeah,
bath today. But you can walk every single day. If you're not walking every day, then you're making a conscious choice not to. Yeah.
one thousand percent.
Maybe you're on a
And
20-hour plane ride. Okay, there you go. There you can't walk.
dude,
But like
but
the
dude, you can still like walk at the airport,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. All right, Noah.
But
Um, that was awesome. Great conversation. It was a pleasure to have you on. Are there any, or is there a quick message that we can, or actually, why don't you so give them your message and then let the audience know where they can find your stuff, and then yeah, go from there.
Honestly, like once again, I appreciate the opportunity, John, to be on here. It was a blast talking with you. I love being able to speak with someone who is very open-minded and not dogmatic in a lot of like, and this is can be a very dogmatic industry. Um, so I appreciate the opportunity there. But I guess really my message is it kind of goes back to like I told you my food acronym, and I think it applies to all areas of life. Is just don't overthink. I'll leave out the ending there, but don't overthink it.
Mm,
You probably know it's good for you. Trust your gut. Prioritize whole foods. Prioritize relationships and experiences and the people in your life, and everything will kind of fall into place for you, I think. If you
mm,
mainly, like I said, focus on the people and the experiences, and we'll call it your secondary food. Focus on the food you consume being predominantly as clean and as or close to as God created it as it can possibly be. So yeah, that's my message. You can find me at
awesome.
Know It All Health on Instagram as well as TikTok, and yeah, I'll just continue to keep doing my best to spread some good words and just make connections. That's really the main reason why I did this to begin with. Is I love meeting people, so connecting with you has just been a tremendous experience as well.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. All right, I look forward to seeing more of your content. Thank you again for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to have you. All the best.
All right, likewise, John. Take care.